I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today, the Arakwal people of the Bundjalung Nation, and pay my respects to the elders past, present, and emerging.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Human Design Podcast with me, your host, Emma Dunwoody. I'm a qualified master coach and human behaviour specialist, as well as being a qualified human design coach. And I work with clients every single day to answer the big questions. Who am I? Why am I here? And what is my purpose? I also assist them to transition from the person they think they should be to the person they really are on the inside. I teach people how to actually live their design instead of just knowing it. And if this is something that you want to do too, well, stay tuned or reach out for private coaching or Human Design Unpacks, where I show you exactly how to live your design.
Hey everyone, and welcome to today's episode. I'm so excited to share another one of my incredible team. As you guys know by now, we have this beautiful team of coaches that supports us in HDX, supports all the members with all their questions. Not hearing me?
No, I can hear you. I had music playing also. I'm so sorry.
It's fine. I can't hear it.
Okay. I stopped it, so we're good to go.
Okay, brilliant. So today we are talking to, or I am talking to, our manifesting generator coach. Welcome, Nicole Hoover.
Hello. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here. Do you want to just let everyone know what your design is? Type, strategy, authority. I mean, we know what your type is now, and profile and incarnation cross, please.
Yes. So I am a 3/5 emotional manifesting generator, and I am the right angle cross of the sleeping phoenix too.
I do love a sleeping phoenix, and I know one of my kids is a sleeping phoenix, but you guys are a little bit magical. So I always am like, well, the new paradigm must be pretty good because you guys are pretty awesome. So exciting times. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So this series is really about helping people to integrate their design because there's a lot of listeners out there that are new to human design. And we also know that we have a lot of the leaders in this area as well. So we want to really talk about your experiment and how life's changed, now that you know this about yourself and now you're living more in alignment with it. So when did you actually begin your human design experiment?
So I discovered human design in January of 2021, and it wasn't really anything that I was looking for. Things have been going really well for us. I've kind of been on a personal development journey for a long time in my life. I've always had a strong desire to just be the best person that I could be and to just, shine brightly in the world. And life was actually going really well. Business was going really well. Mine and my husband's relationship was going really well. And my sister said to me at the end of a conversation, she's like, "Hey, have you ever heard of human design?" And I was like, "No, I haven't. What is it?" She's like, "Well, I don't have time to talk about it right now, but you should really Google it." And so I did. And that sent me down a rabbit hole. I didn't realize I was looking for human design, but once I found it, I feel like it's been the thing that I've been searching for like the last 20 years without even realizing I was looking for it, if that makes sense.
Oh my God, it makes so much sense because I feel like I was the same. I mean, there was definitely a gap for me. I was still looking for that purpose piece. But yeah, it's that thing. And it's so funny, when I first came to human design, I first started teaching it, even when I changed the name of my podcast to be the Human Design Podcast, I was like, oh my God, but I'm going to get bored of this. Like, that's what I do. I move on. Like, shit, what's going to happen then? And one of the things I think is fascinating is it never gets boring for me. Yes, I've now created this, transformational human design, like any good MG would, right? We get all the other parts and put them together. But yeah, I love that. It's that thing that you didn't even know you need it until you have it. So good.
Right. Well, and there was a little bit of that purpose piece. Like I knew that I wanted to do something different than what I was currently doing with the job. Like the business fully supports us, and it's right where, it helps us live the lifestyle that we want to live, but there's not that sense of fulfillment with it. And I always felt like I was designed for more, and that I wanted to do more in the world. And so there was still that little bit of purpose that I was still kind of searching for.
Yeah. I love that. And I think it's so interesting just hearing the line 5. The line 5 is so driven by this need for impact, this need to have their, like their work in the world, have their place in the world. I think that's so cool. And I also think it's really beautiful that you already had this successful business. You already had all this success in your life and these good things, but understanding that there was room for something else. There was this room to really step into your purpose. Because I think a lot of people, I suppose we really look at, or we focus on people that are really like miserable in their corporate life, or they're miserable because they want to do work and they can't, or whatever it is. But I also think there's this whole part of the world out there just like you. It's like, well, I'm happy and my work is giving me like 75% satisfaction, so maybe I should just put up with it. Whereas, there's so much more in there. How does that feel?
That 100%, that resonates so much. Because there is a part of my design that is in alignment in the business that I do, because I help people. There's sales in it, and I have the channel of the salesperson in there. So there's that aspect of it. And I'm kind of bridging a gap. So I'm bringing two people together to meet a common goal. So there are parts of my design that is aligned with the work that I'm doing now. But yeah, there's that fulfillment piece. Like I want to be doing more.
I love that. And I still remember, I think I say this often, like I still remember when I first got to know you. I think we did did we do an unpack first? Did we do that? I don't know.
I believe so. Yeah. Before I did the mastermind, I did an unpack.
But when we did the mastermind, I remember thinking like, wow, because you didn't have a necessarily easy childhood. You did have trauma. You also had this incredible attitude of like, there was no blame. There was no, a lot of holding on to the trauma or holding on to the story. It was straight away off the bat. It was always like, it's an opportunity to grow and help other people. And for me, I'm like, there's that sleeping phoenix. Like, wow, it's just, and my 16-year-old who's walking with me on the Camino, he said to me once when we were talking about his design, because he's a sleeping phoenix, and I'm like telling him all about it. And he said, okay, Mum, so if I have to help people rise from the ashes, that means I have to learn how to rise from the ashes. Is that right? And I'm like, yep, that's it, baby. So it's so cool to see that. I really feel like you're the walking, talking expression of this sleeping phoenix.
Thank you. And it's so funny because as I dig more into my design, I can see like all of that within my chart. I can see the not playing the victim or not holding on to that victim mentality and letting that go. And I can see there's also, I think it's in the line 4, or maybe it's the line 6. No, it's a line 6 where it talks about in order to create peace on earth, then we first have to have harmony and peace within us. And that's like my big desire. I really want to help people to find that peace within themselves, because that's how we have the biggest impact on society, is to just heal ourselves first, or not heal ourselves, but have peace within ourselves. And that will radiate out into the universe. And so I just love how every time I dig into human design or learn, like revisit a gate, I learn something new about it every single time.
Yeah, I love that. I was just saying on the last podcast, it's like, it never gets old. Like I check my gene keys, I reread them or listen to them all the time. And every time I'm like, whoa, there's something new. There's something new, it's just so beautiful. So tell us, when you first learned about your, like your type, strategy, authority, and maybe even profile, if you want to talk to it, what came up for you straight away? I love this question because I know for me, I'm like, when I found out I was a 3-5, especially the line 3 piece, I'm like, ugh, I know that's real. I live it all the time, but I don't want to be told it. So tell us a little bit about when you first came to your design, how you kind of reacted to it, or what came up for you.
What first came up for me, well, first of all, as far as being a manifesting generator and jumping from thing to thing and having multiple interests and stuff, I resonated with that 100% and the fast-paced energy. But what I struggled with was that waiting piece. So the waiting to respond to the manifesting generator and then being an emotional authority and having to wait to make decisions. There's a part of me that I don't like waiting. Like sometimes I have a lot of impatience, which is something I'm still working on. So that's been the biggest piece that I've had to learn to integrate is the waiting, the slowing down, because there's a lot of fast energy within me, but then there's also a lot of waiting for divine timing and letting life unfold without pressure or stuff like that. So the waiting piece took me a bit to really connect with.
Yeah, I think there's so many manifesting generators, especially ones that have a channel direct to the throat. I think we do. We find it really hard to slow down. And I know for me, I remember my mentor saying, so you have to just slow down, take everything a little bit slower, walk slower, speak slower. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. But yeah, it's been such a game changer. And it's funny, isn't it? Like the slowing down piece, when you're first told that, you think, wow, for me, there was this perception that I would be going at a snail's pace everywhere. But if I actually reflect on how my behavior has changed, I haven't necessarily slowed down much. I'm still moving at a very quick pace, but it's a different almost like rhythm or gait because I don't like react in the moment. I just slow down, I wait, I respond. And then when I respond in the correct timing with the correct decision, then it's like I can leapfrog a couple of other steps that I would have had to do if I just forced myself to do it straight away. Does that resonate with you?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's almost like there's an awareness. So there's an awareness around the decision-making process. So I'm more aware of what's going into making the choice and how I've already been responding. And a really great example that I use a lot is I've been interested in tarot for a really long time. And then you had Liz Zamorsky in HDX like a year ago or a year and a half ago. And I couldn't be on the live call, but I watched the recording. And I remember 15 minutes in, I was like, oh my gosh, this is my gal. I adore Liz Zamorsky.
Yeah.
And so I kind of put that aside. And then I was doing my morning meditation and I used an app. And in that app, there was an advertisement for a tarot course that they were doing a tarot course. And I was like, if I do a tarot course, I want to take it from Liz Zamorsky. And I did my meditation. And later that day, I'm checking my email. And Liz just started a course, an intro to tarot course. And I didn't even read the email. I just signed up because I was like, okay, this is the universe. This is my answer. So this is the step that I'm going to take. And so there's just more of this awareness in the decision-making process.
Oh my God, I love that. And I love it because I think there is this piece that I talk about a lot is like paying attention to the external clues. So we want to pay attention. We want to see the breadcrumbs in front of us. But, what you've just so beautifully articulated is that although the things are happening in our external reality, we still have to check in with the body. We still like follow, just wait until that solar plexus or that clarity actually appears. And then, you just know. I love that. It's such a great story. So when you first, from when you started your experiment back in 2021 and you were playing around with all the knowledge, or not playing around, but when you were learning everything, diving in, how has your behavior changed? And what I mean by that is like, what is it that you used to do that you don't do now? What is it that you didn't used to do that you do now that is more in alignment and, living your design?
That is a really good question. And there was there was a lot of me that was living in alignment to the fact that I wasn't really living in a lot of my shadow at the time that I found human design. I had done a lot of inner work, and I had done a lot of releasing of that lower frequency energy. So for me, it was really about where I noticed it most was like in relationships, and like in my relationship with my husband, and how I react. And I've noticed how, like, when things happen in life, I don't react so terribly. Like, I'm taking things more in flow. I've done the slowing down piece, and I'm living my life more in flow and trying to work with trusting divine timing, and just kind of living with the pace of the planet. Not even the pace of the planet, like with Earth itself.
I love that.
Slowing down and not letting things out of my control get me all wound up and angry and frustrated and all that stuff. It's like, it's life. It just happens. Like right now, our home, our RV is in the shop. We're not able to stay in it. We had to rent an Airbnb for a week. It's still not done, but we just have to roll with the punches and just take it day by day. And in following my design, I've been able to do that more easily, if that makes sense. I'm not as reactive.
Yeah, I love that.
Makes sense.
It makes so much sense because, it's really interesting. I had this incredible another session with Jess Babaco. We were working on my intuition. We were doing this for those of you that have worked with Jess or doing Spark right now with our community with Jess. We were doing the 7 planes meditation, and we got to the angelic realm, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, holy shit balls, because I've got Metatron, I've got Archangel Michael, and I've got Jesus standing there, right? And one of the messages that came through is like, you're unplugged. That's why your voice is important. The reason I tell that story is because I think that's exactly what you're saying, Nicole, is that it's like so many of us are so plugged into the matrix. We're plugged into our conditioning. We're plugged into the media, our governments, this message that everyone wants us to hear. And again, what I so deeply believe is that human design is this opportunity for us to unplug, like take the plug out of this, on whether it's resourceful or unresourceful. We've felt like we've needed this support system that has conditioned us to be a certain way. And what I think you're talking to is that it's like unplugging and getting back into your own authority, like really being able to say, well, you guys can rush past me, or you can be reactionary, or you can scream from the highest buildings, but I'm just going to stay here on my path because I know I have an important mission. So I can't be drawn into everybody else's. Does that feel like it resonates?
100%. Like that gave me goosebumps, 100%. And we've even noticed it in driving, like since we're not living a traditional life, we've kind of stepped out of the matrix, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And even like we've been in smaller cities for, for the past months. And we've started to come back into the bigger cities, and you can just feel that rat race energy and the people rushing around. And there's a part of me that's like, why are you rushing? What are you rushing towards? You're just able to kind of slow down and enjoy the process. Even when things are difficult, if you can just slow down and enjoy the process and just look for the gifts in every incident, in anything that happens. There's always something that you learn, or there's always something positive, I feel like, in everything that happens.
I love that. And I agree 100%. And it's funny because I feel like I'm one of those people I sometimes reference, probably not so much these days, but in my early days, like I do have one of those charts that has more of the challenging gates in it. And I think the greatest gift of that is because I've learned that my attitude is up to me. So what I bring to the challenge is totally 100% up to me. And if I choose to struggle and complain and blame, then that's my choice. But if I choose to see this as an opportunity to grow and evolve and, even find the shorter road through to integrate some of the, shadow parts or learn or overcome a fear, then, bring it on. Attitude is everything, I really believe.
100%. It's not what happens to you, it's how you react to it.
Exactly. I love that. So let's go just a little bit deeper into your chart and talk about how have you worked with your incarnation cross? How have you sort of, studied it and then integrated it and lived it? I know you already referenced that once you started diving into it, you're like, oh, that's what I do at work. But how have you amplified that? How have you brought it more into your life, more consciously?
So one of the things that I'm doing is I'm doing the imperfect action and starting to trust my voice, which was something that was really difficult for me early on. And I was having a hard time speaking up and trusting my voice. So I started a podcast, and I did that podcast through following my strategy and authority. I had 2 different people say to me, oh, you should start a podcast, or why don't you do a podcast? And so I was like, okay. So I've taken the imperfect action to trust my voice and to start that podcast. And then the other thing that I'm really working on right now and focusing on is I have gate 55, which is the gate of spirit. And it's probably the gate that I struggled with the most because it talks a lot about moodiness. And that was a word that I struggled with because I've never really considered myself like a moody person. My emotional wave is the 59-6, which is a really subtle wave. And so since I've gotten rid of a lot of those lower frequency energies, I don't have big spikes in my wave. And so that moodiness part I didn't really resonate with. But then I did notice that I have energy patterns where I have more energy and I want to be more active. And then I have times where I just kind of want to do nothing and I want to binge watch a show on Netflix or something like that. So I've really been working on honoring my moods. But then something else that I recently realized too is that the other side of that gate 55 is romance. And I've always loved love and romance. And I love yes, I love love stories. I love stories of people falling in love. I'm living my own love story. And so I've really resonated with that piece as well. And then the 59 of, just kind of owning my victim state or overcoming the victim state and realizing that there's a gift in every experience and that really it's all about opening your heart. And when you open your heart, then that allows you to be intimate with others, whether that's a romantic relationship or whether that's a business relationship or a friendship or something to that effect. And now I have a deep desire to help other people to let go of that. I can see in people the fears that are holding them back. And I really have a strong desire to want to help people to overcome those fears and to open their hearts so that they can just radiate that love.
Oh my God, I love all of that. It was so good. And I love you're actually speaking your design. And it's this piece that I talk a lot about in my community, that understanding the difference between being out of your comfort zone and being out of alignment. Because the whole podcast thing, it's not like it's super easy. Yeah, shit, I'll just do that. But it's so in your design. You've got a line 5 in your design earth. So you're here to use your voice. That's what you're here to do. And you've got the 34-20 and you've got the 57-20. So you're so here to use your voice. But it's that difference of, well, it feels uncomfortable and aligned as opposed to, it feels uncomfortable and I really should be doing this, or it doesn't feel correct for me. Is that fair? Does that resonate with you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think I've done 13 episodes and I'm still not comfortable with it, but I still keep plugging away and taking that imperfect action. That learning that for me was also huge. Just taking that imperfect action and moving forward towards your dreams. It doesn't matter how big the step is, as long as you're taking that forward movement and that forward momentum, it will have the biggest impact over the long term. So yeah, I'm doing a lot of imperfect action right now. because there's so much stuff that I want to do, and I don't know exactly how it's all going to play out. So I'm just following the breadcrumbs of my strategy and my authority as I try to figure it out.
I love that. And that's it, taking imperfect action towards our dreams. It's one of my highest values for a reason. If people ask me about my success, like, what did you do to become successful? I just kept turning up every day. I just kept taking imperfect action. I know who I want to become. I know the impact that I want to have, and I just keep turning up. And the more I listen to my strategy and authority, the more winning I'm doing, and the learning, is plateauing a little bit more, but in a good way. I'm not falling down quite as much. But I also love just to point out some cool things about your design as well, like as a line 3. And you guys, as the audience know, I mean, my family and I spent a year in a caravan traveling around Australia, but it's just cool to see another line 3. Like, we're not designed to live these conventional lives, that we are designed to sort of be a little bit more adventurous and, live in that way. So Nicole, how can people, like, obviously as one of our HDX amazing coaches, you can access Nicole's details on our website. If you want to, people can book unpacks with you, can't they, Nicole?
They can, yes.
Yeah. Beautiful.
I do the unpacks through the HDX, and then I do the podcast, and then I'm inside HDX answering questions and trying to help people out that way as well.
I love it. So do you want to tell everyone what the name of your podcast is, and maybe where they can find you on whatever social media you use?
Sure. So the podcast is called Living My Human Design, and it's on all of the major podcast networks. It's on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all of that. And then I'm on Instagram, and it's at Living My Human Design. And then you can find me on my website too, which is livingmyhumandesign.com.
Beautiful. And we're going to put all of those links in the show notes, of course, for those of you that want to get in touch with Nicole or maybe follow her journey or her podcast. Thank you, beautiful. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your human design experiment so far.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Well, thanks, everyone. I trust you got what you needed from today's episode, and I so look forward to having you here with me on the next one. Bye for now.
Thanks, everyone, for being here all the way to the end of the podcast. I hope you got lots of value out of it. I certainly had a lot of fun doing it. Could I please ask that you share this podcast with friends if you found it valuable? And also, bonus points, could you leave a review for me as well on Apple? It would be greatly appreciated. If at any point you would like to be on the podcast, or you've got questions that you'd like me to discuss on the podcast, by all means, get on my socials and DM me. Everything you need is there in the show notes. Have an awesome day. Bye for now.